Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Southern Fried Geekery podcast, where once a week we all kind of meet around a table to chit-chat about comics, pop culture, and whatever we want to. As usual, I'm Caleb.
I'm Sean.
I'm Jerry.
And we're a man down again this week, 3 weeks in a row. We don't have our Craigery this time. And that's because last night, Craig's daughter got married, and we all went to the wedding. We had a great time. There was much celebration. 2 out of 3 of us, I think, imbibed the alcohols and had a great time. Sean was the designated Sean, and so he did not.
I don't do the alcohols. That's right.
But we had a good time nonetheless. It was beautiful. Craig was so incredibly proud. It was wonderful to see him that happy. Congratulations to Tanya and Hunter, his daughter and new son-in-law, and to his entire family, because it was spectacular.
Indeed.
We had a great time. But because we don't like feeling, we want to be whole, right? Like, this is a 4-person podcast. We don't like having that hole in the 4th chair. We, again, reached out to a friend to come on and help us do this, and I'm super excited about this. Number one, because this woman is like the queen of pop culture in my book. That does not get any better. She has her own podcast, which you've heard us talk about numerous times. She operates one of the best interview shows in pop culture, and that is Miss Wendi Freeman.
Hey, friends!
How you doing, Wendi?
I have listened to every single episode of your show except for the one, anime one.
Oh, yeah. not a
Me and Jerry
animes.
sad facing right now.
Well, that's okay. Did you catch the one from last week where we had Bill Zanowitz on?
It's in my queue.
Nice.
I have a lot. My week has been tumultuous. I'm about to lose one of my jobs. It's crazy.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Well, that's not good.
Yeah, but then I started another job, so things always work out for me. Much like Captain Ginger, I'll always land on my feet.
There you go. I was going to say you have that talent, and usually you're just crafty, so it makes it work. Well, so I'm super pumped about this because we've been wanting to have you on the show forever. Why don't you take a moment and tell everybody, all of our listeners who might not know, what Double Page Spread is?
Oh gosh, well, Double Page Spread is an interview show that I started about 5 years or so ago. I've been doing this for a little while. And it just started because the Chicago comic community is so awesome. We have so many amazing creators who live here. We have people like Tim Seeley and Hilary Barta and Jim Terry, all these amazing dudes that I would just run into at these parties all the time. And I was like, man, I need an excuse just to sit down and talk to them longer. I just want to I want to pick their brains about the creative process and what they're doing and who they are, because I think it's fascinating. And I think, you go to conventions and you meet these people you admire and you don't really get to spend time, delving into their personalities. So I enjoy doing that.
Right. It's just so hectic at the cons and everything. You're just moving constantly. It's so nice to be able to actually sit down and just talk to these people for a period of time, and you get that insight to what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Also, I'm nosy.
That helps.
And there's nothing wrong with that. So you can people who are listening to the show, where can they find Double Page Spread at?
You can find Double Page Spread wherever fine podcasts are sold, such as iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, I think on Spotify now. Also through the Taylor Network, where the Taylor Network does things, which is also all the same places. But I'm trying to push people to subscribe to the YouTube. I think that'd be cool. I've only recently gotten up on there, and I'd like to get a bunch of subscribers via that.
Yeah, strongly encourage everyone to do that. We recently kind of jumped over to YouTube ourselves, and Sean's been putting out a bunch of horror movie content related stuff on our YouTube page for the month of October.
I'm watching a lot of those.
Nice.
Ah, thank you.
Very cool. Well, speaking of Sean, and speaking of the stuff that we kind of do on social media and everything, one of the really cool things about doing podcasts, and Wendi, I'm sure you can agree, is that having a social media site allows us to connect with so many people outside of just our peripheral. I mean, actually, it's how Wendi and I met through the 11 O'Clock Comics podcast thread, and now she's like my bestie. We talk 5 times a week. And And so we're able to connect with people. And as usually happens, things kind of evolve from that. And one of the things for our podcast that has evolved from that is that Sean he's an artist. He draws. He does these every day. He does a drawing a day that kind of incorporates his many loves of all thing pop culture. And he brought that to our page. He brought that to our listeners, and they suggest things for him to draw. And he's been doing a kick-ass job.
I love that. Has it been really encouraging for you?
Oh yeah, it's definitely been really good because before I made the New Year's resolution to draw every day this year, I hadn't drawn in a long time. Not since I worked for a tattoo shop designing tattoos for people working the front desk. So this has been great. Just really got me back into drawing, which, like I said, is something I've done most of my life, but like I said, kind of fell out of it just because there was almost no reason to. So gave me a purpose.
Yeah, that's awesome, because the only way you're ever going to improve is if you force yourself to do something every single day.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think what you've been doing is great. I've loved a lot of them.
Oh, thank you.
They've been a lot of fun to see. So, but what'd you draw this week, Sean?
This week is yet another fun variety throughout the week, which I always love when I get to draw just everything and anything. It started off with Snake Eyes from my old friend Adrian Hill. After that, I did Catbug dressed as a ghost. Catbug being from Bravest Warriors. That was requested by Jerry's house neighbor, Noel Eubanks. It's still a thing.
I still don't know. I don't know that reference. I wasn't sure what Catbug was.
Catbug, yeah.
I don't know that either.
It's a very cute character from I think it's still a YouTube exclusive cartoon from the Adventure Time people.
I think
Almost
it's too
an Adventure
wholesome
Zone
for us, Wendy.
Yeah,
We're old. We're old people.
it's adorable. Look up Catbug. You'll die. After that, it was requested specifically a cute Harry Potter and Hagrid. That was from Nancy Hightower.
Yeah.
After that, I had a request for Storm Shadow from G.I. Joe. This was requested by, again, Adrian Hill and also one Wendi Freeman.
Yay!
After that, I drew the Southern Fried Geekery Championship belt.
Totally winning.
Right, as requested by Frankie De Jesus, and that was very fun to design, and I need a very loving fan to actually make that belt for us.
Right.
So I could have an excuse to beat up Jerry.
To bed with you all the time?
Right, exactly. After that, I had the request of a One Piece.
I saw that.
And even though I double-checked, I'm like, is there a specific One Piece you wanted? They said, no, dealer's choice. So naturally, I did Buggy the Clown.
So this is where I was disappointed. I was hoping the sarcasm that's like sewn into your soul was going to come out, and you were just going to draw a One Piece bathing suit for somebody.
While that would have been funny, I will not pass up the chance to draw Buggy the Clown.
I figured.
Yeah.
And that was requested by one Evelyn Bethany Gleason, effectively known as Shorty, for those who know her. And finally, the last drawing I did yesterday was, yesterday, was The War Doctor. This was requested by Rod Hedrick. And I got to sit down with Craig last night before all the wedding ceremony kicked off and ask him what the hell the War Doctor was. I'm Doctor Who ignorant, and he laid it down as a very interesting character.
Craig is our. Oh, I'm sorry, Wendy. Go ahead.
John Hurt is amazing in everything. John Hurt is amazing in every single thing he's ever done. And I don't know much about Doctor Who, but I watched that episode and I sobbed and sobbed. So I love all things John Hurt related. So, yes.
It's funny you say that, Wendy, because I don't watch Doctor Who either. And literally the only episode of Doctor Who that I have ever seen was that, 50-year special where John Hurt, he plays that character. It's the only one I've seen to date. And yeah, I can't agree with you more.
Yeah,
that dude's spectacular.
I've just done the Ninth Doctor season.
Was it?
Yeah. So we're all a little Whovian a little bit.
I don't have health care, so I avoid doctors.
Craig's gonna listen to this episode and be like, God damn it.
But no, dude, Rod Hedrick. So Craig is our resident Whovian, but like I want him and Rod Hedrick to meet in person one day because they're just going to completely fanboy out and just sit in the corner and like play with little what are they called, TARDISes? And yeah, they're just be like kids in a sandbox.
Tardai. We don't know the plural of a TARDIS.
And yeah, Wendy and I also know Rod from again the EOC page. That he's a really cool guy.
Oh,
go ahead.
Yeah, I got to hang out with him at Heroes this year, and I love Rod to death. He's one of my favoriteest people. So.
You guys went on a run together, right?
We did, because I feel that's what you should do at a con, right?
All y'all exercisers. I don't get it. I'm just going to sit over here and waste away.
We're determined. We're going to start that like EOC run club. We're going to do it.
Well, if he's able to come to C2E2, I'll go with you. I'll at least start with you guys at C2E2 if y'all run like that this year. I'm not promising I'll make it all the way. I'll get distracted by like a booze stand or something.
If they tell you there's a bar at the end, you'll make it.
I'll sprint. I'll sprint that entire way.
It's going to be freezing in C2E2 this year, so.
Well, it snowed on us last year.
Right, yeah. Well, it's like even earlier in the year this year. It's like in March or something, so it's even less pleasant.
I will hold you for warmth, Wendi.
Oh.
We will snuggle one another.
Oh, I'm down with that.
So that's what Sean does. If you have any requests, I think, Sean, weren't you saying that your list was reaching the short end, so you need people to throw stuff up on our Facebook page?
Yeah, please keep requesting. I mean, like I said, even if y'all don't, I will draw something, of course. But it's more fun. I'm really enjoying the requests, and still got a couple months left in the year, and this will probably continue through next year. I see no reason to stop, and I will draw regardless. But I love doing the listener requests, so please send those out. Also, movie requests, as we mentioned earlier, I put out movie reviews every day on YouTube. And like I said, I can always do any movie I really love, but I really like finding the new movies from the listeners who want, or at least want to hear my thoughts. Even if I've seen it, I'll rewatch it so I get a refresher. So send me all the requests you can and want to do.
Yeah, if y'all don't request stuff from him, then it's going to be up to like me to do it, and I'm going to throw up some like French noir avant-garde bullshit that no one's ever heard of that I just Googled to be an asshole, and that's not going to be fun for Sean.
Sounds about right.
But
that's all I watch.
See, this is why I love Wendi.
Right.
But so not only can you find us on the Facebooks and on the Twitters at SFG Podcast, and it's the same for Instagram. You can find us on YouTube, but you can also come find us in person next weekend when we are going to be sitting at a table in total Southern Fried Geekery glory, giving away swag and selling T-shirts at Conway in Conway, Arkansas, November 2nd through the 4th, I believe it is. The first night is on a Friday, and it's actually a free event at the public library.
The Faulkner County Library, and then the main event goes to the Conway Expo Center for Saturday and Sunday.
I think it's, $10 to get in?
I think it's $10 for a weekend pass, or $5 a day.
I think 15 for a weekend
15,
pass,
okay.
I think.
And historically, it's been one of the better local cons. It's smaller, so you get a chance to, have those conversations that Wendi and I were talking about earlier. With there's going to be creators there. There's going to be some people, some names you'll know, and you can go find them on Facebook. I'm not going to do your homework for you. Go look them up, basically, because I didn't do my homework for me. So go check them out, and then come see us. As I said, we're going to be selling T-shirts. We can't give those away, but as far as I know, that's the only Southern Fried Geekery swag that we're selling, or we're giving away with a suggested donation of $15. But if you come up to us and you find any one of us, if you find Craig, Jerry, Sean, or myself, and you say, hey, Webhead, I want a $10 T-shirt, then we'll give you one, because that's what Webhead means. That's our discount code that we're trying to do. It's a little fun thing for people who listen to the show.
Or Web Fluid.
Or Web
Craig
Fluid.
will accept your Web Fluid.
Oh boy. Web Fluid. And then we've also got one that we're going to be shooting up to the Great White North land of Chicago, so that Miss Wendi Freeman can rock our swag up there.
I know, because we look so good in each other's swags.
We do. I recently got a T-shirt for Double Page Spread. Not a T-shirt. It was a sleeveless shirt, like a tank top for Double Page Spread.
It was
pretty awesome.
It was 3/4 of a shirt.
It was. We're keeping Team Sleeveless a thing. So I was able to go on her Threadless site. Wendi, what is that website?
So I'm sad that Threadless doesn't offer like a crop top option, so you can wear like a hot little hat.
I would totally rock a tube top. I want a Double Page Spread tube top and some booty shorts.
Oh god.
You just want to go full Kofi Kingston at this point.
Absolutely.
Man.
This is like that time Craig wanted to get Southern Fried Geekery condoms.
Actually, I wanted to get some. I still want to, but they're expensive.
Anyway, it's doublepagespread.threadless.com.
Yeah, and
you can get stickers and notebooks and all kinds of crap.
Comforters.
Yes, you can get comforters and shower curtains.
Yes, I want a Wendi Freeman shower curtain so bad.
I need to get on there because they posted up that cannonball design he had a little while back. I need to get a shirt of that for real.
Yeah, there's some really good designs. I love so like the little Cappy, the little cannonball. I have a little Dread, and there was one more that off the top of my head.
Little Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
He's eating an ice cream cone. So all the art is by Tom Kelly, who I should definitely credit for that. Tom Kelly's been doing all my art since the beginning, and he is a wonderful. He can do a diverse array of styles. But I just said, make it cute. I said, I want all my favorite characters eating something. So that's the most odd thing I could have is Cannonball eating a chicken legs.
Oh, I loved it. I love that drawing. So I'm gonna need to get a shirt of that for sure.
Wendy, when am I getting a Beta Ray Bill shirt?
I need one immediately. I need it.
I will throw my money at the computer so hard.
That'll be in the wave too.
What would Beta Ray Bill be eating?
Oh, jeez, I don't even know. Like
Space hay.
Space
hay. Green glowing hay. Yeah.
No, it's got to be a snack. Give him like a donut that's in the shape of a hammer, something like that.
Okay. What about a granola bar?
Granola bar. Because it's like oats?
Yeah.
Seriously?
I've got no imagination. None.
I once had someone draw me a picture of Man-Thing eating a salad.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's dark. That's like cannibalism. I want that. God. What would the Hulk eat if it was a little Hulky?
Old school Marvel Twinkies or whatever those little pastry they used to sell in the comics.
Right.
Lime gelato.
Lime gelato. I need that to happen. Yeah, so go check the Threadless site out. Get you some double page spread swag, and rock it. And also come see us and get some Southern Fried Geekery swag and rock that, because you should support your local podcasts, because that's what makes it fun.
Especially ours.
So we've got a really fun episode kind of drawn up for you guys. We've only got one kind of news article that we're going to talk about to make room for everything else, but at least my favorite holiday is coming up this weekend. It's fucking Halloween time. I've already worn 2 costumes this year.
Is fucking Halloween the same thing as regular Halloween?
Well, that's like 21 and up Halloween.
Oh.
That's a whole different type of costume. So, and yeah, I love this holiday. It's gay Christmas. We get to finally dress up and do everything. Everyone gets to be who they want to be throughout the rest of the year, unapologetically, which I think is awesome. The parties are fun. I'm totally going to wear my Luigi costume to school one day. It's going to happen. And so we had some listener questions come out. We have some themes that come out that revolve around Halloween. But before we get to that, let's talk about this kind of news thing, some wrestling news, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, because I will take any chance I can to discuss wrestling. So we're recording this on Sunday. So tonight is WWE's first ever all women's pay-per-view called WWE Evolution. It's just, there'll be no male wrestlers whatsoever. They're giving the women a time to shine, and it's a very unique scenario because they've always featured women wrestlers for like the last few years for sure, but now they're just letting them have an entire show to themselves, so it's pretty cool. And I'm looking forward to it. We got a very interesting card set up.
Go on, sorry.
Oh, no worries. But I know, Wendy, you're also a big wrestling fan and even got involved in the wrestling a little bit, right? You want to tell them about that?
I did. Oh my gosh! So I have a hilarious story from last week. So I ended up. You discussed All In, the big indie wrestling phenomenon that happened about a month ago, and I ended up playing drums with the Young Bucks' father at an event, a pay-per-view event, which was incredible.
That's awesome.
And it was so amazing. It was so incredible. I got to hang out with all these people. It was amazing. And so then I get a phone call this week from Papa Buck, and he says, "Hey, Wendy, you're going to be on the Chris Jericho cruise, aren't you?" And I'm like, I have no idea what.
No, but I want to.
I had no idea this was a thing. I have no idea. And I'm like, no. He's like, oh, well, we need a drummer. We need a drummer to play on this cruise. He's like, I figured you'd just be there. Why don't you just assume I'm on Days of Our Lives cruise while you're at it?
Right.
So I thought about it. I looked it up. And I was like, and meanwhile, this is like only a couple days away when he asked me this. I'm like, I'll fly down to Florida and I'll play on this cruise. If I get enough free cruise out of it, that'd be awesome. That'd be great. So I said this. I said, yeah, and it'd get me on the cruise. And so he said, well, Chris Jericho didn't allot my backing band in the budget, so you'd actually have to pay your way onto the cruise.
Wow. Negative Ghost Rider.
$2,000.
Wow. Ooh. That's a lot of scratch just to pay for the privilege of making somebody else look good.
Wow. Mr. Jericho, really?
So now I have a beef with Chris Jericho.
So he just made your list?
He's just made my list.
You're going to go stand outside of a Fozzy concert with a sign, aren't you?
Right, exactly. The lead singer of a band forgot to allot money for a band to come on his cruise. Wow, that's disappointing. I would have loved for you to actually be able to go on there.
Yeah, I mean, he couldn't even, put me in the steerage place, where Leonardo DiCaprio was staying. There's no room for me next to the boilers or something, I don't know.
That's so, well, yeah, I wonder how they're going to do that then, because, I mean, in general, I don't know that there's any musicians who are going to willingly put out of pocket to do someone else a favor. Especially not local musicians and stuff like that, because, I mean, it's starving artists, man.
Right, so he was looking for a drummer who would happen to be on the boat already, and, good luck with that.
I mean, I know a lot of musicians. I don't know any of them that have $2,000 laying around for, boat times.
Right. It's a shame, because, like I said, live music would especially bring an extra oomph to a show.
Yeah.
You can go to any wrestling show and hear just music being blared over the speakers, but, that's why Triple H had Motorhead play his music live for WrestleMania before, because it's a different feeling. This is a shame he didn't put any forethought into that.
Right, or when Shinsuke Nakamura had that violin player.
Oh, absolutely.
That's awesome. That's cool when people do that stuff.
See, what I need the wrestlers to know when Wendy's playing the drums for them live is that Wendi could actually get in the ring and just kill them. Just destroy just throw them through the ring, because Wendy's actually a pretty badass martial artist as well.
I'm a brown belt now.
You are.
Yep, that's awesome.
And just breaking fools.
But, sorry, go ahead.
I will break any enemies of the Southern Fried Geekery. You can send me out there.
Are we the comic mafia now? Is that what just happened?
I think so. We just got our hit woman.
Right.
We're the two families. I guess Comic Bears will be the third. There'll be a third.
That's awesome. But yeah.
Tonight. Tell me about who you're rooting for tonight with these matches.
Tonight, well, we got a lot of them. I was actually going to go through and just kind of get both of our thoughts real quick on each of the major matches. See what you thought as well. First up on the list is just the Battle Royal, where they got a ton of women all in there going to be, with it being Battle Royal style, that means they should all just start in the ring at the same time, knock each other over the top rope for elimination, and they got women coming in from now to even what they call the Divas era, and even all the way to the Attitude era. Some of the names on there I'm happy to see coming back, especially Molly Holly and Ivory. But they also got Michelle McCool, Tori Wilson, Kelly Kelly, Maria Kanellis will be in this. It's going to be a lot of names of all different generations of women wrestlers. So I'm looking forward to that. I think it's going to be pretty cool. Any of the names you've seen on there you're looking forward to?
I am remiss in a lot of my history of lady wrestling, so I just support in general.
Okay, hey, nothing wrong with that. I am a bit of a wrestling historian. I've been watching since the '80s nonstop. So, but yeah.
The thing that got me into wrestling was listening to Colt Cabana's podcast.
Oh yes, his podcast is amazing.
Yeah, I listen to that all the time, and then I became so emotionally engrossed in these people's lives.
Right.
So that's what got me into wrestling, was listening to people tell stories.
Hey, I mean, and no doubt at all, because when the first time I really got into that was when Mankind released his autobiography and really learned about this wrestler.
Oh, The Many Faces of Foley?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've even read that.
Amazing.
That's a good book, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So next match on the card though is the finals of what's called the Mae Young Classic, which has been a all women's tournament style show they've been putting on the WWE Network. It's going to be Io Shirai versus Toni Storm. Two women I haven't seen too much of them. Storm's been getting a lot of attention here from the indies. So, I mean, they're coming up in there. The last year's Mae Young Classic had amazing matches throughout. So that one will be good. I'm looking forward to that. After that, we have the NXT Women's Championship, which will be, in my mind, is going to probably steal the show. It's going to be Kairi Sane versus Shayna Baszler. You're getting a Japanese woman wrestler who is just energy, is how I describe her wrestling style. She's fast-paced, a lot of energy, the crowd loves her. And she's taking on Shayna Baszler, who comes from the UFC MMA background and has incorporated very well into wrestling. So personally, I think this is going to steal the show. I don't know when it is on the card, but hopefully they wouldn't put it up against the main event, which we'll get to here in a minute. Have you seen either of them?
Yeah, I have. I think Shayna Baszler is cool. And my favorite NXT lady is Candice LeRae, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah. She's really good.
Yeah, I'm sad she didn't get in on this, but she's all.
Oh, absolutely.
But I think that'll be great. I think that sounds like a great match.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, for me at least, I think it's going to steal the show for sure. Mm-hmm. After that, we got a 6-woman match with Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Natalya versus the Riot Squad. To be honest, that one is not super exciting because we've kind of already been seeing this on Raw here lately. So it's not really, I mean, they all the women in the match have a potential to put on a damn good match, but we've kind of already been seeing this for a while. But that might just be me. What do you think, Wendi?
Yeah, I don't watch a lot of Raw, so, but I mean, I love Bayley, but maybe it's just because I'm physically affectionate.
She is a hugger. That's true. Oh, well, and that's good. And especially if someone who I watch Raw every week with the wife, so, like I said, a lot of these, and like I said, it's not saying they're not going to put on a good match, it's kind of what I've already seen, but I feel like they're going to pull out all the stops anyway, and every one of them individually is a talented wrestler, so looking forward to that. Then we have Trish Stratus and Lita, going to be taking on Mickie James and Alicia Fox. Now, Alicia Fox is replacing the now injured Alexa Bliss. So this was originally kind of set up as the old guard versus the new guard, because Trish Stratus and Lita are from the Attitude Era.
I was going to ask, is this the same Lita that came out with the Hardy Boys way back? Okay, see, look at me. Look at me growing as a person.
Caleb knows a thing. But this was originally, it was kind of because Alexa Bliss is kind of now the current big heel on Raw, and she's a fantastic wrestler, but she recently suffered, I believe, a concussion at a house show. So she's just not cleared to be able to wrestle. So they brought in Alicia Fox to replace her, who's also another very good heel. The only problem is now, if you look at it, like there is no new guard because obviously Trish and Lita are from the Attitude Era from the 90s into the 2000s. Mickie James started in the early 2000s as well as Alicia Fox. So they kind of lost that whole generational war. But at least I think it'll still be a very crowd pleasing match. Because everyone likes seeing the vets come back, and like I said, no one's seen Trish and Lita really wrestle in a long time. And Mickie James and Alicia Fox are damn good wrestlers in their own right, so they'll make them look like $1 million. Your thoughts, Wendi?
No, I think that's cool. I think it's great to see these women being brought back again. I think that's a wonderful opportunity, and I think it's definitely going to be a big crowd-pleasing, spectacle. So absolutely. I'm just excited for it. So that's great. Okay. So what are your favorite indie promotions?
Wow. To be honest, there's no one specific favorite because I love wrestling in general. But Ring of Honor always puts on entertaining stuff. It's indie only by WWE standards of say New Japan Pro Wrestling, which because they are the big dogs in Japan, and like that stuff's always fun. But we have stuff even local here that I try to watch when I can. ASWF out in Tuckerman, Arkansas puts on, it's indie as it gets, but you just see these young wrestlers who are just coming into the business, learning the ropes, and it's always really fun.
Yeah, I like going to some of the local shows in Chicago, and we used to get a lot of Chikara shows and stuff, and that's cool.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah. Chikara's always been a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen those ice cream head dudes. I love them.
and that's what's great. I wish they kind of toured more down here. I would love to go see a Chikara show around here, but I'm pretty sure they hang kind of up to the north, and I'm pretty sure they do shows in California and stuff. But yeah, we don't get much touring down here, unfortunately. We get some Memphis wrestling and some of course some Dallas promotions and stuff out in Texas, which is always good. That's no doubt. Texas for a long time was just the mecca of wrestling for a long time.
Yeah, I'm always fascinated to hear about the history of wrestling and the history of the territories and stuff, and the families and the when you get into all that, it's so fascinating to me, So I like hearing those stories.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and then we got the main event for each SmackDown and Raw. SmackDown is going to be Becky Lynch, who is the women's champion. Will be taking on Charlotte Flair in a last woman standing match. For those who don't know, woman standing or last man standing when it's the men wrestlers is basically it's like the 10 count in a boxing match. The object is to knock your opponent down so they can't get up for a 10 count. So and first time I'm pretty certain it's the first last woman standing match because they've had Iron Woman match, they've had cage matches now. They're letting the women wrestlers really shine and really get into matches that have been exclusively for men.
So this isn't just a knock them down and pin them. This is a knock that fool out and make them not get back up.
Yeah, hit them so hard they can't get up for a 10 count.
See, it seems like you're threading the needle between hurting them and murder. It's a very fine threshold.
Or the hoping they get up at least after 10. But I mean, they've been doing a real personal storyline between Charlotte and Becky, them being friends, and Becky Lynch, who was the first SmackDown Women's Champ for, I think she had it for maybe a week or two. I mean, I'm not even sure if it was a month. And then she lost it and hasn't gotten any ground back into there. So she finally just did I'm not going to say full-on heel turn because I don't care how much they want to make Charlotte Flair a babyface. No one cares because she came in as a hardcore heel. I don't think anyone's still forgiven her. So right now Becky Lynch is kind of doing more of a Stone Cold, just whoop anyone's ass. Not really heel or face. So I've been enjoying Becky Lynch's turn. What have you thought, Wendy?
Yeah, I like Becky Lynch. I think she's cool. So I'm Team Becky.
Oh, absolutely. And look, Talent Wrestler was finally getting some time to shine. Just they call her the Irish Last Kicker, and she's just getting full-blown angry Irish, and I like it.
The Irish Last Kicker?
Yep.
That's clever.
Oh, yeah. That's her moniker.
I like that.
And then the main event is going to be the Raw Women's Champion, Ronda Rousey, who everyone should know from UFC, and, I mean, a two-time, I believe, judo Olympic wrestler, Olympic champion. Taking on the returning Nikki Bella. Bella, twin fame. If it's not obvious, I'm not a fan of Nikki Bella.
Was she the one who was engaged to John Cena, or was it the other Bella?
She is, yeah. She's the one that was engaged to John Cena, and then he called it off.
Yeah, this guy in Team Ronda. I am hardcore Team Ronda, so I support that for sure.
Saying Ronda, I'll be honest, when she first came in, because I've seen a lot of these, especially if they come in already well-known, like a celebrity.
Yeah.
You kind of hesitant because you think they're just going to be, hand-fed opponents or easy matches, do the most minimal effort for the most gains. But Ronda has been busting her ass. There are aspects I think she can improve on, but I mean, this is still her first year, so we're going to see her only get better, I think.
Yeah.
And taking on Nikki Bella, that's just because Nikki Bella's been in the headlines, in my opinion. And then, granted, don't get me wrong, she was a Divas champ for a long time, and she can handle herself in the ring for sure. Personally, I'm not a big fan, but I think they'll put on a good match. But honestly, I just don't think I'm not too into this one.
It's not the main event you were hoping for, huh?
No, I think, I don't know. Now, out of the card, I don't know which one would have been better because, I mean, it is the champ versus one of the longest reigning champs. It makes sense. It's just my own personal feelings about how Nikki Bella wrestles and just Ronda's still kind of green. It's just a little early, but they can surprise me. Ronda has surprised me on several of her matches. Have been phenomenal. I've really enjoyed them. So,
did you ever hear why John Cena and the Bella lady broke up?
Never heard official reasons.
Yeah, apparently he didn't feel like she could see him.
Yeah.
Is that it? Is that what happened, Caleb?
Not even close.
But there was a.
Can I tell you my reason for hating John Cena?
Yes, please do.
He wears cargo shorts in the ring. He wears cargo shorts. I hate that. I hate it so much.
He is just making every other indie wrestler's wrestling ring attire legitimate by doing it on the big stage. Yeah, it's kind of been lost. Like originally, he wore that kind of gear because he was coming out when he was that rapper gimmick, where he was kind of doing like Eminem diss raps from 8 Mile. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of been thrown to the wayside, so he's still got the jorts and doing a lot of the same things, but he doesn't go into hip-hop mode anymore.
Why do you need that many pockets in the ring?
I know!
I mean,
break it with army knives, you need like a multi-tool or something in the middle of
just think of all the ways Ric Flair could have cheated if he had cargo shorts for all the powder, all the brass knuckles. He could have had everything. It would have been a lot more convenient than shoving it down his tights.
At least with Stone Cold, he had like Daisy Dukes. There was only 2 pockets in those.
You're not wrong.
And he had beer in them. We knew that secret.
And I did like on Raw, this will be the last little closing thing on this, they are, the shooting is a term in wrestling for when things get a little bit real. Sometimes when a wrestler really punches another wrestler because, you're owed one,
right?
Or even they kind of go into a shoot fight, and they also do shoot interview or shoot promos, where they talk about kind of real life issues outside of the storyline. And like Nikki Bell and her sister were just bragging about how they started the women's evolution. They've been breaking through the glass ceiling and kicking down doors. And Ronda just looked at Nikki and goes, the only door you kicked down was the John Cena's bedroom.
Damn.
And then he kicked you right back out of it.
Ooh.
Like, oh shit.
That's nasty.
Things got a little real. But like I said, I'm looking forward to it. I love wrestling in general. Even if I say like I said, I'm not saying I'm not gonna watch, because I may not be excited, but I'm always hoping to be surprised. So I can't wait for the pay-per-view tonight. Me, the wife, a couple friends are going to be watching it. And I can't wait, because I love some wrestling.
Well, and while we're still on the wrestling kick, I just kind of learned this from the internet and the peripheral stuff. A major wrestler this week came out and had to retire for the time being, basically because of problems with leukemia.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
if I'm not mistaken.
Not retire. You're talking about Roman Reigns,
yeah,
who was the current Raw heavyweight champion. He had a bout of leukemia about 6 years ago when he was young, before he made it to the main roster, and it's come back. So he came out at Raw and he's carrying a title, didn't think anything was wrong. He came out going, I'm not coming to you as Roman Reigns, I'm coming to you as Joe. And he explained what happened, and he's not retiring, but he's taking a step back. Yeah, he can't wrestle anymore until he gets over this.
Yeah.
So they had to vacate the title. Very emotional, very real. And Roman Reigns is that wrestler who gets as much booed as cheered, even though he is the baby face, top of the heat, good guy. But the crowd's not behind him. And I believe this was in Chicago, wasn't it? Or no, Philly. I think it was in Philadelphia. Known for being a very loud crowd usually,
right.
And it just silence across the arena. Disrespect for the human being that is Roman Reigns. So it was very nice to show. But,
I think we would be remiss to talk about wrestling and not mention that and wish him the best of luck across the board, because that's, the gimmicks aside, that hurts.
Yeah,
it hurts
like I said, whether you enjoy him or not as a performer, he's a human being, absolutely. Right. And leukemia is a motherfucker, so we're hoping the best for him, that he'll get over this and beat it again.
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, so let's move on, if we will, away from the wrestling for the time being. We'll come back to it later. I know Sean's going to dislike this part. But let's move on to some of our listener questions. We have a thread put up on our Facebook page where people who listen to the show and who are on our Facebook and social media, they can come and they can ask questions. Because that's what that's how this show started, right? Like all the four of us would sit around and we'd talk at the comic book shop and we would throw stuff back and forth. And of course, when you get geeks and nerds and pop culture fans together, they ask each other questions. It brings up the impetus of conversation, and it's been a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite segments of the show. But this one's going to be a little bit longer than what we normally do, and I've labeled this the Spoopy edition. SPOOPY. Because
so spoopy.
Why not? And so we had a lot of listeners, a lot of friends send in questions that were kind of related to this amazing national holiday that's coming up, which is the best day of the year, which I'm excited about. Did I mention that I'm going to wear a costume? And it's all it surrounds this. So let's kick this off, and I'm going to let Wendi answer first, because we're going to be polite and she's our guest. And so Wendi, the first question is the top 5 films that you enjoy watching for Halloween season.
Oh gosh. Wow, top 5 films. All right, so I'm going to go with Demons. It's always one of my favorite, the Italian film Demons.
Nice.
Yes, I like that. The Shining is always classic.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah, I love Rosemary's Baby, but that's probably only grown over the years because I love John Cassavetes. Let me see. I know I had 2 others. Of course, Cronenberg. Videodrome is my all-time favorite.
Videodrome is amazing.
Yeah. So I'm going to see it in the theater on Tuesday night, and it'll be like my 17th time seeing it in the theater.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
And then also in the Cronenberg vein, I'm going with The Brood.
Oh, yeah, that's not one you hear brought up too often. Very nice. That's
it's
a good
my
one.
Favorite. She has those nasty, rage babies, and if I were a mother, that would be how I would procreate.
Aren't all babies rage babies on some level?
Right, but every time she gets angry, she gestates this hideous thing that grows and then becomes a killer baby, and I think that's That's how I would be born to do.
As only Cronenberg can.
Your list puts mine to shame.
well, let's hear it now.
All right, so I'll kick us off. So to start with, my first film for Halloween is Hocus Pocus. I absolutely love that movie. I know it's for kids. I know it's lighthearted, but it's today one of the funniest little campy films I've ever seen. It cracks me up. I think it's great.
Right? It's some sort of anniversary of Hocus Pocus.
I believe it is. Yeah. Right. It's as a little galing. I remember just watching that and getting my the first taste of like a diva before I became obsessed with Cher. But it was Babs. So it's just it's phenomenal. My second one is a little bit darker. It's 30 Days of Night.
That's a good one.
I'm a closet Josh Hartnett fan.
That's the only thing your closet is about.
Yeah, I'm only admitting that to the people who listen to this show, and if you address it in public, I'll deny it and call you a liar. But no, 30 Days of Night's got one of the most terrific moments of that scene where the old vampire is leaning over it and the chick's like, oh God, and he's God, no God. Mm-hmm. That to me is one of my favorite scenes in all of horror. I still get goosebumps. The third one is the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Again,
it's a lot of fun.
It's so much fun. It's the crowd interaction. It brings so much to the table, and I love everyone in that movie. It's just the best. Dracula, the Bram Stoker Dracula, the old school one. I still think it's wonderful. To me, it still holds up the test of time.
Oh, dude, absolutely.
It's still one of the best horror films. I wouldn't say the best, but one of. And the last one is a film that I don't know that a lot of people will know. It's called The Rite.
Oh, yeah.
It's got Anthony Hopkins, and he plays a priest. And it's basically about sin eaters, which is a concept of old Catholicism ritual where they could put the sin of a person inside one of the wafers, and the priest would eat it. He would digest their sins. He would take them on himself. It's a really, really great. It's Anthony Hopkins. It's Anthony Hopkins, and so he's just kind of terrifying in his own right. So it's a really great movie.
Oh, awesome! All right, well, Halloween is year round for me because I just love horror movies in general. But so I'm kind of like not really anything I watch specifically anymore around the season, but I always try to recommend people because they're starting to want to watch more horror movies around this time of the year. So mine are a bit more of like what I like to recommend, maybe they haven't seen or a little lesser known. Number one I always recommend to people is John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness.
Oh, nice.
This is a horror movie. I don't think it gets enough attention, a lot of love. I mean, it's John Carpenter taking on basically H.P. Lovecraft style horror. If you haven't seen it, it's an amazing film.
Do you read Sutter Kane?
Yes, she knows. She knows.
I told you, she's the queen of pop culture.
That's a great film. Another one, an underrated one for me, and I don't think a lot of people dig it, but it gets to me for some reason. It's Stir of Echoes, starring Kevin Bacon, where his girlfriend's sister is a hypnotist and thinks he needs to open his mind, so she hypnotizes him to be more open-minded. Instead, it opens up his mind to ghosts, to the afterlife and hauntings and stuff like that. It turns into kind of a murder mystery. I think it's really good. It has a lot of creepy imagery, and it's really well done film. You don't see a lot of people seem to know about that one. Those are definitely the two like I usually try to recommend. But there's other ones that are just like some of them are more favorite ones. Actually, a viewer recommended it recently for one of my reviews that it should be coming up as long as I can still watch it. But it's called Dumplings.
Oh yes,
I watched it with Jerry.
We actually watched it with three movies. It was the Three Extremes, right?
Yeah.
But
Dumplings. I don't want to get too much into the plot. Just this woman has these dumplings that make people feel like rejuvenated.
Yeah, like look younger.
Yeah, they get younger, and what she's using to make them, I'm not going to give that away. If you can find it, I guess I'm not sure if it's on any available streaming services or not, but if you can track it down, check that one out for sure. Wendy, you seen that one?
Who was the one who directed that?
Oh Lord, I'm trying to.
That wasn't Takashi Miike, right?
I don't think it was
he
Miike.
had one in that set.
Yeah,
but I don't. I don't remember.
Top of my head, I don't know. I'll have to Google. Yeah. But but I'm pretty sure it's the same person that did Audition, I believe.
No, it was Fruit Chan. Fruit Chan did that one.
Okay.
And yeah, they did a bunch of other I know I've seen a few other, but yeah, Miike did audition, and Miike.
Oh, Miike did audition. Okay.
Yeah. Go on.
All right, no problem. Beyond that, there have been I'll say the other just kind of ones a couple now that I discovered through my random horror movies that I've been watching. One of them was He Never Died, starring Henry Rollins.
Oh yeah.
He's basically appears to be just an immortal vampire because he has to drink a lot of blood. And again, it's something I don't want to give away what he actually is. It's not vampire, but you just see he just plays an immortal who is completely antisocial and he's very blunt. He plays a very flat character, and but it's done so well. And this is just one of the ones I stumbled upon on Netflix a while back. That one I can't push that one enough. And number 5 is a recent one. Actually, last week I think it was. I watched Apostle. And this has quickly become one of my favorite horror movies from the director of the Raid franchise, as well as several other films. But I've only known the director for martial art films, and now he broke into, as far as I know, the first horror he's done. It was amazing.
It really had a Wicker Man feel.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Without Wicker Man without the Nicolas Cage in a bear suit moment.
I was thinking the original.
Right, I know, but I had to mention Nicolas Cage in a bear suit.
And the bees, yeah.
And the bees, but it is, yeah. It's it's a man goes to an island where these people are living in. You quickly realize it's kind of a cult scenario, and it goes into just so much more into that. And I don't want to give too much away. It's currently on Netflix. It's an amazing film. And to tell you how big of a fan I am of The Raid, I was watching it and I saw the director's name and I'm like, I can't place it. I don't know who that is. I'll worry about it later. And then there's a quick sequence where a guy tries to stab somebody and there's a quick exchange of just grabbing the arm, doing a quick wrist lock.
The choreography.
Just quick as hell. It was really sudden. I was like, that looked like The Raid.
So that's kind of Marwin Call, the one he did about the little boy, the little Thai boy or whatever.
I hadn't seen that.
Oh, you need to see that one too.
What's it called again?
I think Marwin Call, Marwencol.
Marwin Call. Okay, I'll take a look.
Yeah, it was his first movie. It's great.
All right, I'll try to look that up. But those right now would definitely be the 5 films. But I'd tell anyone, go out and just watch horror movies.
Right.
Year round if you can. But on Halloween, those are the 5 I would always I try to push onto everybody, especially now with Apostle. I'm pushing that as much as I can. But yeah, those are mine.
Wait, I'm sorry. Let me correct that. Marinchau.
Marinchau. All right.
That movie they're making the remake of about the little dolls of Stephen Colbert. Or whatever.
Oh. Well, if nothing else, I'll go to his IMDb and look up his director list. So I'll make sure I get the right name.
Oh, man.
Awesome. I'll have to check that out.
So for my list, it was kind of funny because I thought of 5 more as you guys were going through. But I'll try to keep it short but sweet. The first one that I had on my list was something that Sean and I actually went to go see, I think last year. The Witch.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Super crazy psychological. It was fantastic.
Atmosphere.
Yeah.
That's just how I simplify
really,
atmosphere.
Really fucked up.
And if you want to hear my thoughts on that movie, go check out our YouTube channel because I did review it.
Nice. The second one I have is a movie that I watched, I think, maybe... can't remember if it was last or year before last. It popped up on Netflix, but it's called The Abyss, and it's great. I'm a slut for practical effects.
Yeah.
Anytime that they're done well, I'm all over it. And just the crazier the monsters, the better for me. And this movie it's all takes place in this hospital. And you've got these crazy cultists outside that won't let the people that are inside leave, and then all this crazy shit starts happening inside, and the plot just constantly thickens.
That was a good one.
Yeah. One that was on Sean's list that I actually was on my Netflix that he found on it that I've constantly gone back to that I've really, really enjoyed. And Sean and I aren't real big fans of hand cam style movies.
Nah, I've gotten
footage stuff.
Yeah,
really tired of
it's
that.
not a go-to, but we found this movie called Frankenstein's Army, and it was fucking great. It's what is it, Russian soldiers?
I believe it was German. I think it's World War II.
Well, I think they were going after Germans, like Russian
maybe that's what it was.
soldiers going after Germans.
It's been a few years.
Well, anyway, they find this town that almost seems abandoned, and you get into this stuff and you find out that there's a scientist there that's been doing like really fucked up experiments, and like we said, it's like all found footage, but in a normal movie, people have like cameras and it's like you should have dropped this camera by now, but like they're trying to like chronologue and like make sure they get everything on here because they need to take it back to their officers and everything like that and film what's going on. But it was,
the monsters were very cool.
Yeah.
Think if they tried to militarize Silent Hill monsters.
Yeah.
That's how I would describe them. They're very cool.
Yeah, and it straight up felt like some Silent Hill like scrapped together monsters and stuff like that. And then the last two on my list are just movies that I've always really enjoyed. Evil Dead. I'll do Evil Dead or Evil Dead 2. Bruce Campbell. Love me some
classics.
Campy, crazy Bruce Campbell. And then Night of the Living Dead. I can't not let this month pass by without watching Night of the Living Dead. And I'll do the old one or the remake. I don't even care, but they're both fantastic.
I prefer the original.
Yeah.
I like them both, and
yeah.
that's the only one of the Living Dead remakes that I like is the original one.
Yeah.
I don't like Day or Dawn.
Yeah. But that was.
What's that?
Did they remake Day?
I'm fairly certain. They did remake Day of the Dead, but it's been a while. I blocked out my memory the best I can remember that they. I don't remember liking it at all. I definitely did like Dawn of the Dead remake. I like the originals.
Did they do Day, or are you thinking Land of the Dead?
I'm a look.
Yeah, Land of the Dead was the one with John.
Well, I know that, but I swore there was a Day of the Dead remake.
Yeah,
I'll look.
I honestly don't remember. Day of the Dead, the original, was with the military, right?
Yes.
Yeah, in the bunker.
Bub the zombie, yeah.
Yeah, that one was that one was great. But a runner-up for me, something that I just watched like earlier this month, Mandy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, with Nicolas
I've been
Cage.
talking about that.
Man, that movie was fucking great.
Very cool.
Yeah.
If I had a runner-up, it would be The Crow, but I really don't consider it a Halloween movie because I'll watch it on Valentine's Day or anything else, and it's a love story above everything else.
Okay, just follow up. I'm not insane. In 2008, there was a remake of Day of the Dead, and I've
very cool.
already quickly
not
forgotten.
cool, but
I try to erase it from my
It
mind.
was probably a straight to Netflix or something.
Not sure.
You
But
said
2008.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, there was a remake, and obviously it's garbage because I don't remember it.
So we just. Oh, go ahead, Wendy. I'm sorry.
I have a question for you, Sean.
Yes.
So have you seen, speaking of things that are brand new on Netflix, the fact that Gareth Evans had a brand new movie and a couple days later Iko Uwais had a brand new movie on Netflix. Did you see The Night Comes for Us?
No, I saw it on my list, but since I've been doing viewer requests, I probably would have gotten to it, but like I said, I'll definitely check it out because I've only got a couple more requests left over. Have you watched that one already?
I haven't yet because there's been so much good stuff. I watched all of Fight World, that Frank Grillo series on Netflix, and I loved it. And obviously I like anything with fighting.
Right, of course.
I like anything that involves tear-jerking and bloody men.
Jerking and men are some of my favorite things.
So that was The Day Comes for Us?
Yeah, The Night Comes for Us.
The Night. All right. I'm chalk that up to another viewer request.
Have any of you guys watched the Haunting of Hill House yet?
I haven't, no.
I just started watching Sabrina. Have you been watching Sabrina?
It's on my queue because I want to see it so bad.
Yeah, I started it the other night.
I haven't seen it.
It's supposedly just blowing the fuck up.
It's been getting a lot of reviews. I'll at least check an episode or two.
Yeah, forget all those people that were
time.
talking shit about it because Salem doesn't talk. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Oh, one of the great things about it, and I love this about iZombie too, is I love that iZombie has that whole opening credit sequence by Mike Allred.
Oh,
yes.
And it has the whole opening credit sequence by Robert Hack.
Yes.
And it's gorgeous, and you can see them recreating shots of the comic covers. It's it's so good.
Nice.
Super geeks me out.
And just in general, if Wendy suggests something to me, and I guess it goes without saying if Sean does as well, but usually there's like a 95% chance that I'm going to enjoy the thing. So both of you have such impeccable taste in film and in pop culture. All right, guys, we are breaking back in here to. So we got bad news. We actually recorded a 2-hour and 20-minute podcast, and because of tech fucking knowledge, it only recorded about an hour of it or so, which is what you just heard. So Sean and I are scrambling to, provide a decent show for all of you guys. Unfortunately, Wendi had to go to work about an hour after it stopped recording. And Jerry, his significant other, is flying back to, I want to say, Seattle today. Yeah. So he had to go with that. So now you get to spend the next little bit listening to Sean and I tell you everything that we already talked about. Both of us are going to be audibly angry because it's keeping Sean. Sean is trying to keep me from rage quitting over technology. I'm not a happy camper. The Halloween curse struck. As far as I know, that's what it was.
So join us in saying fuck you, Skynet, for fucking up everything.
Exactly. We had some great conversation. I want to thank Wendi
awesome lady
for doing the show with us. I've already texted her and told her about what happened. Deeply apologize. We will get her back on here as soon as we can, and hopefully have a backup running. I thought we had a backup running. I don't know what happened. The computer ate the voice. Everything is wrong. I'm just going to devolve into a blubbering pile of angry shit because that's what's that's where we're at.
That's the name of my punk rock band, by the way.
I'm so mad. So Sean and I are going to keep going through the list. We're going to kind of repeat what we said. Unfortunately, we had some amazing answers from Jerry and some amazing answers from Wendi to these questions that we're going to keep going with that are lost. They're lost to the audio demons. Yeah. I'm going to send a very angrily worded email very shortly. So the next question on our list is, what is your favorite horror manga or comic? And this was asked by Tyler May. He's a great guy. We love him, even when we're angry. And mine is 30 Days of Night. Steve Niles, Ben Templesmith. It's a great book. The art in it is unlike anything I've ever seen before, and it was my first exposure to Ben Templesmith. And solidly one of my favorite books of the horror genre. Ever produced in a comic form.
Yeah, always heard good things. Only seen the movie. Might have to try and read the trade one of these days. My favorite horror manga, and Caleb here agrees with me on this, is definitely Uzumaki by Junji Ito, and really anything that man writes you can get down with on some horror.
It's incredibly solid. So Uzumaki is one of the only mangas that I've been exposed to. I'm slowly but surely starting to read some of it, and I'm glad that I almost got the best first. I mean, it's unfortunate because everything else is going downhill from here.
It's unfortunately true, and as much as I love all of Ito's work, Uzumaki is definitely his best one. It's rough to start off with the best, and then you kind of read the others, but there's some good in there. You'll get there eventually.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
And my favorite horror comic book, though, is always Preacher. It's just so many horror elements as well as other, but I think it's really steeped in the horror comic to me.
I don't disagree whatsoever. Most people don't think of Preacher as a horror comic, and I absolutely agree with you that it is. I'm glad we agree on that because that's a hill I'll fight on.
Right.
So what is your favorite horror-based video game? Sean, go ahead.
Mine is a little-known one on PlayStation 1. It's a pretty big franchise. They got multiple in Japan, but not over here. We only got one, maybe two. It's called Clock Tower. And it's the definition of survival horror because it's a point-and-click adventure-style game, kind of like Maniac Mansion on the NES, where you can't fight back. All you have is just maybe you're escaping a killer who is a hunchback with giant hedge clippers, just shears, and it's just tense the entire time because you have no way to fight this guy. You can only throw things in his path and try to get away. And it's a pretty silent game until you're in a room where he's about to appear. You don't know where from. Just that music kicks in and you just hear shunk, shunk, shunk. And it's fucking terrifying.
Some of that non-diegetic sound that we spoke about earlier, but no one else knows about.
I remember.
It's me and you, buddy. So that's interesting, too. I want to say this is because it's very rare that you get a game where helplessness is the core of the game. And that's outstanding. So mine is going to be the Left 4 Dead games, mainly because I'm not a gamer. I'm that person that video games, if they're too hard, I get angry and just shut the fuck off because I play games for enjoyment. And I don't need to let my game aggravate me to the point I throw a controller through the television. The Left 4 Dead games are games that I can grab a bottle of wine or make myself a hefty adult beverage, get really intoxicated, throw on some metal, play like when I'm angry, like I am right now, that I can do that and not get more frustrated by it and actually relax and calm me down as I just mow through these zombies. I mean, you can't customize your characters. There's none of that. Create your own bullshit. It's like, here, pick one of these 4 bodies, grab a gun, and try not to die. And I love that. I love games like that because it's just a straightforward game.
Yeah, it's a fun cooperative game for sure.
And there is a large tentacle monster.
Tentacle monster's always good.
They're terrifying. So, what element of horror makes it good, in your opinion? Or to rearrange Tyler's other question, what does horror need to make it a good horror?
All right. Well, we're going to echo some of Jerry and Wendy's thoughts since they can't be here for this re-recording. The short end of it all, because we had I'm sorry y'all missed that. I hate to keep bringing it up, but I love this question. I love the answers we got. Sound. Wendy brought us up that sound is one of the more unappreciated elements of horror. Mm-hmm. Every time you have a jump scare and the music kicks in, every time there's an ambient noise, or what's that big word you just used?
Non-diegetic. Well, so there's 2 different types of sounds, diegetic and non-diegetic. Diegetic are the sounds that they're meant to be real inside the world of the film. And so that's like, if you hear dog barking, the character can hear that dog barking. It's live. It's live in their world. Non-diegetic sound or sounds, like if you're watching a movie like Psycho and you get that the character can't hear that in his world. That's simply meant to evoke a tone or a feeling or an emotion in the audience as you consume that media.
Absolutely. That's it. When he pointed that out, and me and Jerry kind of agreed on a lot of things too, is just practical effects will hold out longer than any CG. So never forget those. I think in horror movies especially, that's very important. And the big thing for me, because I'm a huge fan of the slasher genre, Friday the 13th being one of my favorite franchises, you can't just write a bunch of assholes and want us to root for the one you want to have live. You have to make the one that's going to live likable and all the other ones completely detestable so we can enjoy watching them get fucked up by the killer and root for the one we actually give a shit about.
Right. And
I find so many of these, even because B horror movies can still be enjoyable, but if you write every character as an asshole, I don't care about any of them. I don't want to see them all die. So make sure you write up a good character as well as write the other ones to be completely detestable so we enjoy it more when they get slashed up.
Absolutely. For me, it's when horror uses something fantastical to reveal the truly horrific parts of our real world. So one of the things that we spoke about earlier is there's Jordan Peele's movie Get Out, which is one of the best horror movies of last year. Yes, it uses this body swapping, weirdness, science, like incredible science that couldn't really exist to do everything. But inherently, the movie's about racism.
Right.
The movie's about this uncomfortable, everything from just the microaggressions of the quote unquote white liberal who I'd have voted for Obama a 3rd time if I had the chance. That you just inherently feel like you need to say to a black person when you see them, to straight up just these dudes are Nazis and they're swapping bodies.
Right.
It plays off the racism. In the slasher movies that you're a big fan of, sexism plays in a huge role. Mm-hmm. Rape often plays in a huge role. In some of the movies that I like, there's always a undertone of, if a character is a gay character, that they're going to just be tragically and horrifically murdered first, or the black guy dies first. Just taking these elements of our real culture that are terrifying in real life, are just horrific, and juxtaposing it with the fantastical element of what horror is. It works really well.
Absolutely, and it's a good genre of movie for actual social commentary, as long as people aren't just putting out. There's room for trashy movies, but there's also room for some real thought in horror films.
Well, and I think arguably even the trashier films, they have something to say.
Absolutely.
So, great question on that one all around. You can hear my dog going insane in the background because we had to let them out. And so if you hear that, that's Annie. She says hello. What are some of your favorite moments? This one also comes from Tyler. What are some of your favorite moments from the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise?
My favorite moment in the Nightmare franchise is when Jason kicked the shit out of him in Freddy vs. Jason, because Friday the 13th for life, son. But no, I do enjoy the Nightmare franchise. My favorite one being the Dream Warriors. But I have to say one of my favorite kills that really stuck with me, because I think it was one of the first ones I saw, was when Freddy had got that dude by his veins or some kind of fleshy shit out of his arms and marionetted him to the top of the hospital and made him jump off by him cutting the string. It was a very cool effect.
Yeah,
that's just one of my favorite moments in Nightmare.
It's one of the great ones for me. Mine's kind of a classic element. It's the nursery rhyme. The 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. 3, 4, you better lock the door. That is haunting.
Oh yes.
That and like you're taking something and you're making it uncomfortable. When we think about the nursery rhyme, we think about something wholesome. We think about something that's supposed to comfort your child, a way to learn. And this, you're flipping that trope on its head. You're making it terrifying. You're making it looming. It's going to give you anxiety. And to me, it's one of the best moments of that franchise, and it still gives me goosebumps when I hear it today. I had a backup. Do you mind if I throw my backup in there?
Go for it.
My backup was it comes out of the third movie, I want to say, The Nightmare on Elm Street 3, where Freddy's in the dreamscape and he says, "Where's the fucking bourbon?" Because I can relate to that on so many levels.
Especially right now.
Oh, dude, I wish I could punch my computer.
I do want to say though, like that nursery rhyme is a damn good call because that's equally as iconic as his blade glove. His knife.
It really is. Yep.
Real quick for those who were not here when we recorded originally, Wendi, her favorite was the Johnny Depp blood geyser from the very first movie, which is an iconic kill in the entire Nightmare franchise. And Jerry's favorite moment was Super Freddy and the comic book kill from the worst fucking movie in the entire series. And we hate him. We love you, Jerry. We hate you.
You just hate him because you get to think about that movie.
Yes.
That part was funny, though. It was very humorous.
It was the epitome of the campy end of Nightmare, for sure. It's iconic Freddy. Everyone remembers Super Freddy and the power glove from that fucking movie. But good God, that movie.
All right. The last question on the list of questions is actually one that I posed to the entire group because I felt like it would be a fun question. It would bring some levity. Let us talk about some characters or some people that we really liked. And we got some great answers. And the question that I posed to the group was, who in the entirety of comics, this can be a character or an actual creator, would you like to go trick-or-treating with, and why? For me, the answer was Cullen Bunn because he produces some of the largest content of horror work right now. The man is a workhorse. He's putting something out all the time. We could do an entire podcast at this point of just Cullen Bunn books,
right?
Where we just go through what he puts out every week, honestly, because there's just so much out there. I want to throw Wendy's out there too because hers was just really good and it was heartwarming. And she said Walt and Wheezy Simonson,
right,
who just a dynamic duo, a long history, one of my favorite couples in the comic industry. They're incredible people. Love Wheezy is a gem. She's a gift. One of the nicest people you'll ever meet if you get the chance to. And so, solid answer from her point.
Absolutely. My pick is Nightcrawler from the X-Men.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I get my candy from whoever I'm trick-or-treating at, I want a demon to pop out of brimstone, grab me, and pull me back into there just to scare the shit out of them.
Well, and not only that is you're going to make up so much, you're going to get to so many more places too because you just pop back and forth, so you're going to get more bang for your buck, and you might actually get to give old people a heart attack.
Which you know what? Let's chalk that up to the game. That's just how it is on Halloween night.
Don't be mad at Sean. Be mad at the game.
The name is escaping me, but it's the Jerry's pick was the author of Sex Criminals, right?
Chip Zdarsky.
Yeah, that's Jerry wanted to chill with him on Halloween.
I think he's the artist of Sex Criminals.
Or the artist, okay.
Yep. And God, those two would never make it trick-or-treating. They just end up drunk and laughing in the room.
Hey, that's a good Halloween too.
It is. That's a fun way. All right, so Angry Caleb is angry still. We had some really great answers to a lot of those, and unfortunately, they're lost to technology. Yeah. I'm so goddamn angry.
Fucking machines.
All right, but let's move on to Smothered, Covered in Comics, and kind of mow through this real quick.
Right.
Again, incredibly sad that the other two had to not be here, that we lost those. Because the book we decided to roundtable this week is Dead Kings by Steve Orlando, Matthew Dow Smith, Lauren Affey, I'm not really sure how you pronounce that, and Thomas Marr did the letters. To give you guys kind of a rundown, we were 2 for 2 on this book as far as enjoyment goes.
Yeah.
Wendi and I both liked it, and Sean and Jerry were not fans for a variety of reasons, which we'll try to get into here.
Sean, would you like me to give the rundown again of kind of what it is?
Yeah, go ahead. You'll give it a better light than I can.
Okay, so for you guys listening at home, Dead Kings by Aftershock Comics opens up in the land of Rus, R-U-S. It's like Russia, but shorter, where a woman is giving birth to twins inside a cabin while a giant battle between steam-powered mechs is happening right outside in the snow-covered hills just a short distance away. The story then jumps ahead 20-some-odd years to, I'm using air quotes again because it works so fucking well on a podcast, to tonight, which brings up to like a modern time. Where we see a cityscape that's surrounded by wreckage and debris. A man named Sasha is searching the back alleys and the ghettos of the city for a woman known as Stone Mary. In his travels, he meets a panhandler, and they go to a bar where they swap war stories, and you find out that Sasha, along with his panhandler, they're both veterans. They're former soldiers that fought in this giant war that's happened in the background that kind of looms through the whole thread. And they're from, at least Sasha, is from a now defunct area known as Thrice 9, which is kind of, it's this area that kind of has its own legend inside this world that Steve Orlando's building. Of course, this is the type of bar where even the walls have eyes and ears, and you can't have conversations without it getting around. A ragtag group of people confronts them, walks up behind them with a broken glass, and of course the panhandling vet scampers off. He's going to leave Sasha to fight it out on his own. And so Sasha gears up for a fight. He's not a punk. He's going for it. The group reveals themselves to actually be Stone Mary and her crew, who, they're very protective and territorial. You kind of get the feeling that they're on the lam, or there's some underground mafioso style stuff happening. And they forcefully invite Sasha to spend the night, and the next day he has to convince Stone Mary not to kill him with that broken bottle that we mentioned earlier. And what he does is he explains that he is attempting to get back to Thrice 9 to rescue his twin brother, throw back to that scene at the front of the book, who is being held prisoner in a gulag for quote-unquote social degenerates. Basically, gays. Stone Mary is sympathetic, but she won't aid Sasha, despite being a Niner herself, and despite being a little bit of a queer character herself that you learn in the book. Our hero sets out on his own after this, and a few days later he crosses into the Thrice 9 territory, where he is accosted by the Oprichinski, which is not how you say that, but we're going to go with it, who is a gang of dog soldiers, literal dog soldiers. They have the pelts of dead dogs on them. And they ride robot horses and they have lances that are shotguns. It's a good character design. Sasha is arrested as per his plan. He wanted to, so he could get to his brother, but things kind of go awry when he learns that he is not, in fact, being taken to the same prison as his brother. He's being taken to a prison for political dissidents. So, kind of throws a monkey wrench in that whole plan. I personally enjoyed this story. I've read some of Steve Orlando's stuff before. He wrote the Midnighter series that I was a big fan of. He wrote also the Midnighter and Apollo series. And he's got a book out right now called Crude, which it's either from Image or Aftershock. I'm not 100% sure. He's a very dense writer. He packs a lot of stuff into his writing. He also has written some Justice League stuff before, which I was not actually a fan of. It didn't fill me with the warm and fuzzies, but this I enjoyed as a case study of seeing what's happened because it's so layered. There's kind of a lot going on. You get Russian folklore, you get the aftermath of the post-apocalyptic world, you get some cool sci-fi tropes, you get some what we're talking about with horror stuff,
right?
Elements of the real world thrown back on us. And so I found a lot in that to like. But you also read the same book, and you weren't feeling it in the way I do. So why don't you tell me a little bit about why?
A lot of what you just said is positive for you is kind of negative. I think there's too much going on, and this would have worked better as a completed graphic novel, maybe. Put out, because I think there's a big world he's building.
Right.
And he just didn't really hook me in with all the details of this world yet. I think this is going to be a better trade paperback read. The other big problem, in which we discussed on the original discussion, is it opens up with the birth of the twins, and outside of that is giant fucking robots, one of which being a bear, having a battle out there. And I'm like, wow, I can't wait to see what this world's all about. And we don't get any of that again.
Right.
And what you had mentioned when we originally discussed it was if they had kind of did that at the end of showing the world, showing all that build up, and then all of a sudden giant fucking robot bears, may have been a better hook at the end.
Right.
So not saying it's going to be bad. It's just this first issue didn't grab me. Honestly, I felt bored reading The World. It just wasn't really doing that much for me. But I get the sense he's building a bigger picture, obviously.
Oh, for sure.
It's definitely happening. So if I get a chance, I'll look at the second issue to see if it does anything else for me. But right now, off the one issue, it's not doing it for me.
Yeah, the pacing sounds like it worked against you.
Yeah, it really did.
Well, and so one of the things I thought about when I was reading this and thinking about that, because I was the same way, I wanted to see those larger mechs and stuff like that. But I started thinking about the real world and how, we have really cool technology now. We've got fighter jets and all kinds of cool shit. That if we ever did have an apocalypse, that we wouldn't see that cool stuff anymore. And so I think that might have been what he's doing. But I agree. The pacing wanted something for me, even though I did enjoy the book and I am interested in the larger world that he's building.
And if if that was just like a glimpse into the apocalypse that led up to that, maybe because like you said, it's like 20 years after the opening, that's fine and all. But now I'm more interested in the prequel, than the current story. And that might be me. This is my own personal preference and what I like, and I like giant fucking robots.
You do. You like them a lot. The art in this book, I really dug. I think I dug the art maybe more than the story, specifically because of the use of double-page spreads back to back. Like you get this great double-page spread of the world before and the world after, and the impact is solid.
Yeah, the art's good. It's very stylized in a sense of like grittiness and like very muted colors, very dark colors. And I dug it. There were some panels I felt like kind of looked like a kind of a rush job. Didn't really like the faces on people, but overall art worked. It was very good. The mech designs were cool, which is why I was disappointed.
Exactly, well, and hopefully you'll see more of that going on. But you were saying you may pick this up and trade to see what happens with the larger story.
It feels like when you're building that big of a story, like month to month. Me personally, even though I don't read that many books, I feel like it's gonna be a realm issue with me.
Right,
I'm gonna forget what happened by the next issue. Just because there's so much, and I do so much other stuff.
Yep. No, I think that's a fair assessment. Absolutely. So I'm going to pick up the second issue. I think it's going to be a fun time. I know Wendi said she was on board. She's going to grab the second issue. Jerry, I think he was a borrow. Like, if I get it, he might borrow it from me, and that would be where he picked up and see if it did anything else for him. But that's why I kind of like Roundtable in the Books, man, because we do have our 50-50 rule on the show. We're not going to drag anything through the mud, but I think it offers us an opportunity to give some other perspectives, some polite perspectives.
Absolutely.
And even if we don't enjoy something, there can be reasons why, but we can find something worthwhile to take away from every book.
Yeah, you hear that, people? You can discuss things with having disagreeing opinions and not choke each other, which we may do off camera, though.
I mean, if we're lucky.
Consensually.
It's a fun game. I'm all alone. So we really had a good time with that. It was an interesting read, but I actually want to hear something that Sean read this week that I didn't. So why don't you tell me a little bit about that, buddy?
Well, my book of the week was Rat Queens, number 12, from writer Curtis J. Weeb and artist Owen Janney. Mm-hmm. Rat Queens, I know I've mentioned on the show a few times that the series here lately has been kind of hit and miss, but this one really picked up back into the good old Dungeons and Dragons fueled by alcohol and drugs. Of them just in a dungeon fighting monsters. It opens up with them fighting a creature that can possess people through these bony tendrils. And that's why they ended the last issue, and they're picking up with that fight. And in this, they're joined by new members. One's definitely a member. The other one looks like she's going to get recruited. Was Maddie the Bard. And the newest one they may be introducing in now is the Were Owl, Sadie, who is quickly becoming a favorite character of mine. What was really good about this issue was they kind of got more into the Braga, their orc members' history with her, which she had a one-shot that kind of gave her history, but like some people may not have read that, so they kind of talk a little bit more about her past with her brother, who they had a mutual love interest. They both were in love with this actually I don't remember if they specified if it was male or female. Mm-hmm. But if you also don't know, like they didn't show it in the flashback, so I wonder if they're going to get to that or not. But like Braga is actually transgender.
Very cool.
Yeah. So I don't know if this is back before she transitioned, or maybe she was back then too. It might have been some of the strife. I don't know. That they haven't gotten into that yet. I'm looking forward to seeing if they will dive a bit deeper into that. But it ended up with like her and her brother fighting over the same love interest, and her breaking her brother's arm, and I think that kind of led to her exile from her orc clan. We also get a cut over to Dee, their sorceress, who has transcended into the god realm due to her family being so close to her Cthulhu-esque god. And now she's looking at such reverence that she's kind of hit godlike status. Like she has that kind of a following. And it's a very entertaining look about how gods act. She's going around with the goddess of love, which is a very plump smidgen who is like their halfling races. They call them smidgens.
Yeah. And
she is that very much like you look at old, I don't know if it was Greek or where the first ones were, where it's like the fertility goddesses are always very full figured. And this is one of those. She's fucking adorable.
Got them birthing hips.
Yes. And a good little big old belly and everything is cute.
Ain't nothing wrong.
And but she's explaining to Dee what it's like to be a god, which I just could not help but laugh. You're like, you'll hear the voices of your people, and he goes, and what do you do with that? He goes, well, I just go like, cheer them on and not do much else.
Right.
Little commentary on religion. But I still enjoyed that. And then eventually the group lead, they go back to the group in the dungeon, and they encounter an orc group that scares the shit out of Braga called Fleshers. She kind of explained that they're really bad news. And just one of the many interactions between the characters with Sadie, the were-owl that's with them now. She saw like, oh my god, orcs, those ugly fuckers. And Braga just kind of looks at her sideways. She goes, oh, no, not you. You're totally fuckable. It was very cute. But they get into a conflict with them. Like they just go in there to try and take out these fleshers. And Hannah, their other maid, she gets fucked up at the end. And it's going to lead into something big. I'm looking forward to it. Like I feel like it's this is getting back on track for me for Rat Queens.
Right. Well, I hope so, because I jumped off of it there for a bit because I wasn't enjoying it nearly as much as I used to anymore. They kind of went through a slump. So glad to hear it's getting back on track. I'm going to have to jump back on.
Right.
And I'm always down for queer representation in comics, man. We need more of that. I know people argue that we don't, but they're wrong.
They are wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. Don't be scared.
There's plenty of straight folks. They're not going to. There's still gonna be some straight folk sex. Y'all are okay. It's not gonna hurt you to find out that a character's trans. So
heaven forbid.
I'm glad they did that, man. It's a cool move.
It's a good thing.
So I want to mention briefly, just to give it some love, the book that Wendi spoke on, and that was Aliens Dust to Dust #3. And this book was written by Gabe Hardman, who is he's a really good writer. He's written a lot of stuff that we're fans of, and she actually had him on her show, Double Page Spread, recently. And this is, as far as I know, it's written and drawn by Gabe, and so you should definitely go check that out. #3 just came out. From what she described it was a really fun alien story that it plays off of the same alien tropes that we all know and love, but it did some different stuff. By giving the aliens personalities of the people that had gestated them, so that's interesting. I'm gonna have to pick that up because I love that franchise.
Yeah, I mean that's like we've seen them take on the physical characteristics of like in part 3 where they took over a dog. It was very more dog-like of an alien as opposed to the humanoid-looking one.
Yeah.
So to actually explore like personality maybe in it is very unique, and I think that's pretty cool.
It absolutely is. And Jerry's book of this week was a book that I honestly could have done myself, like made my book, because it was one of my favorite things that came out this week, but he called it first, and then we lost it. So his was Mars Attacks #1 by Kyle Starks and Chris Schweitzer. Those guys are the same team that did the Rock Candy Mountain book that Craig and I both were really big fans of. And man, everything about that book is gold. I loved it. It is absolutely a throwback to the original Mars Attacks series. It starts off in a place that you wouldn't kind of expect. It starts off in a nursing home, and you get kind of this dude who's a down on his luck, semi like hippie character, but not hippie with the dedication, more like hippie with the fuck I'm lazy. White dude with a ponytail. So
used to be Jerry.
But then he cut his ponytail off, and now he's got a big boy job. And he's doing great. So anyway, he's visiting his dad, who's this old school like Vietnam War vet guy who's been he's not happy about being in a nursing home, but he also is not happy about having his son come ask him for money. While they're there, the Mars attacks. And so you get this really great adventure where they're trying to survive and get out of the nursing home, and it is the comedy gold that is Kyle Starks and Chris Schweitzer. It's just fun. Their cartoon style works really well with this. You get some great moments of levity, and you get to see those little testicles with eyeballs going. Actually, you don't get to see them going ack, 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 which was my only complaint about the book, which I wanted that.
The lack of the ack.
It's beautiful. It's a really fun story. I laughed several times out loud. I threw up some pictures on the Instagram page. Great book. And so good pick on that one for Jerry. I wish you guys could hear what he said, but you can't because everyone hates us. Because technology is
computers,
evil, and the robots will win.
The robots, they will win.
All right, but my book, you actually do get to hear me talk about, which some of you are probably wishing I had gotten deleted, and I don't blame you. I do too. Detective Comics number 991 came out this week, and I wanted to talk about this book specifically because we talk about Batman so much that we don't give this other Bat book a lot of love. We spoke about it when James Tynion was writing it, and we was getting those really good team stories. But we've kind of, I think, collectively been less appreciative of this latest arc than we had been. But I think this last story has really turned it around. It's written by James Robinson. It's drawn by Carmine Di Giandomenico. It's colored by Ivan Placencia, who's we mention his name a lot. That dude's doing some work. And Rob Lee does the letters. So this story, for the most part, takes place on a rooftop, and it's a conversation between Batman and Two-Face, one of his longtime villains. If you don't know who he is, then I don't know where you've been. It's Two-Face, Harvey Dent. So to kind of get everyone caught up to speed on what's been happening, because this is actually like the part 4 of this latest arc, or part 3 of this latest arc. I'm not sure on that one, just because I just read through it. There's been some stuff going on. So our boy Two-Face just found out that this character, this villain named Carl Twist, who, aka Harold Frank, has been in Gotham and has been doing some work for Cobra. Now, why this is important to Harvey Dent / Two-Face is because this was the last case that Harvey Dent had before the Sal Maroni case, where he got the acid thrown in his face, which gave birth to him.
Right.
And he lost that case. The guy got off on technicality, Carl Twist did. And he's not happy about it, and Dent's really not happy about it because he never had a chance to redeem himself. He's a DA. He had his career was on stopping these people, and so he's really pissed that this criminal got off that he should have had convicted because of some shoddy police work. And he apparently has held a grudge this entire time, even as Two-Face. And so when he found out that Twist was in town doing some work for Cobra, which, big evil organization, got a little pissed off that this dude was rolling up in his space.
Can imagine.
I mean, and even though we mostly think of Two-Face being a murderous character, and as does everyone else, that's why Batman's looking for him and has kind of cornered him here. We don't necessarily think of Harvey Dent as being this character. We think of Harvey Dent, being the bastion of justice that was twisted. Twist being the name there. I think this is not unexpected. I think that's purposeful. That really corrupted Harvey Dent into becoming what it is, the character Two-Face. So Twist got shot twice. Twist got shot with 2 different guns, and then Two-Face hired 2 different characters. Both takes on the Firefly. The original Firefly character, who's an arsonist, apparently has a sidekick now, which is also named Firefly. He hired those 2 people to torch the apartment, the place that Twist was killed in. And this is what's got Batman befuddled. He was like, okay, you found out that he was working for Cobra. You hated him and you killed him. But then you do Cobra the solid by burning all the evidence that would have convicted them and indicted them on these things. And now I can't figure out where they're at, how they're operating, or what they're doing, and they're in my city. Like, this is not okay. Like, you fucked up my case, Two-Face. And he was like, yeah, but here's the problem. You're talking to me. I didn't do this. And Batman's like, bullshit, Two-Face. Like, 2 guns, 2 different arsonists, 2 different bullets. It reads Two-Face. And he's like, no. Like, this body did this, but it wasn't me. It was Dent. Dent did this. And herein lies the problem, because Dent is supposed to be the pure side of the coin, so to speak. Right. He's not the scarred side. He is supposed to be the check on Two-Face's monstrous persona. And it really gets into the psychology of these characters. James Robinson, normally his books are, he's a great writer. He's never that guy that I think is going to win a ton of awards, but he's always somebody, when I see his name on a book, I know it's going to be a solid book.
Right.
he's kind of following Tom King's lead on these character-driven, psychologically driven stories and really getting into the depth of these characters' psyches. And he speaks on the struggle of, Two-Face, like, no, like, Dent's still locked in my brain. I let him out for a little bit because I thought that we needed some clarity, and maybe I'm not the right choice to make these decisions because I flip a coin and murder people. So I was going to let Dent drive the truck for a hot minute, and then Dent put a bullet in this dude and completely ruined my stick, totally messing up. If he's willing to do that, then what does that say about me? What am I going to do? So I had to take back over, jump back into the body, and put another bullet in this dude and ruin the evidence because I can't be Two-Face without the good side of me that would not murder somebody. I can't have that. So I had to step in and make sure I put the bullet in him that killed him and just kind of retain this so I'm not lost, which is kind of, crazy. I think when you think
That's
about
a word.
it. But it completely makes sense. Like, I believed this when I was reading it. I understood this psychology. You need to maintain that pure form. Or what do you got? It's kind of like, what happens? It's Batman. What happens when Batman kills?
Right.
You become that monster. Like, there's no duplicity, there's no duality, and there's no stopping it. And so I understand that character trope needing to keep that there. By the end of the book, what you find out is Cobra, they're still operating in Gotham. They've still got to be stopped. And in order to make that happen, Batman is going to have to team up with Two-Face going forward. The last page is this amazing page of Batman, like, cramped into the driver's seat of the Batmobile, and Two-Face just, like, hanging out of the T-tops shooting guns. Just like, whee! Really good page. And I want to throw out to the artist on this one. I'm just going to call him Carmine because I'm not going to try to stumble over his last name again. And that's my ignorance, and so please forgive that. But I'd never, that I know of, I'm not familiar with this artist. He's relatively new to me. It's good. Now, he has some problems on some panels with perspective. Perspectives. I actually said that without stumbling over it. I'm proud of myself.
Good job.
There are some things where characters are supposed to be leaning forward where they just get out of scope. So he struggled with that a little bit. But what I like about this guy is he's not afraid to let his influences bleed through a little bit. And when I say influences, I want to stress that I'm not saying like he's the second coming of these people that I'm about to name. He just, you can tell that he's looked at their work and he appreciates it, and he took some of it for himself. The way he draws Batman is very reminiscent of Frank Miller. Old Frank Miller, not new Frank Miller.
Right.
That style's, you see a lot of that in there. The way that he does camera angles is very reminiscent of Greg Capullo. I see a lot in there. And as I was reading through it this morning, I noticed something that I actually missed yesterday, and maybe this is the headspace I was in this morning. I'd seen a memorial sign for Norm Breyfogle in one of the books. Might have been actually this book. Put Norm on my brain, and as I was reading this book, I was thinking about all the Norm work, and I started seeing a Norm influence in here. Yeah. The way that he does shadows, and specifically the way that Batman's cape is flowing, kind of forms these tribal-looking angles and these really sharp points. It's a call back to Norm Breyfogle, man. I don't think you can read that without seeing that, and I love seeing that influence because, we've been reading Batman for 80 years now. I haven't. But Batman's existed, so we've had a ton of these characters, or a ton of these creators who have worked to build up the art style and the writing style. And I think a good comic creator, be it an artist or a writer, builds on what came before him. As I always say, we ride on the shoulders of titans as fans of this industry, and the artists do too. So I love seeing that shine through, and it's kind of an homage. To some of these characters or some of these creators and artists that have came before and done great works on the Bat books. It made me very happy.
Artists, we're all influenced by somebody somewhere, and it shines through. As long as it's not just straight up tracing their old works or anything.
Yeah, no, it's not.
You're definitely going to see influences in everyone's art style for who they love, who they admire, and who they looked up to when they were coming up in the art world.
It is. It's a good style. Ivan Placencia does good work as usual. He's one of those, it's kind of like a good letter, or sometimes you just don't notice it, and that's a good thing. There's nothing in the colors that really worked. It really worked for the book. It served its purpose. There was nothing, I wouldn't shoot up skyrockets to point at this book. It's not a standard of groundbreaking color work, but it serves its purpose, man. It sets the tone. Shadows work, especially if he did those shadows. I'm not sure how their process worked, but shadow plays a huge role in this book, and I think it does really good. And I also lastly want to throw out that I think it's fair to honestly judge a Bat book on some level by the peripheral characters that are drawn, specifically the Alfreds and the Commissioner Gordons. If you don't draw a good Alfred or Commissioner Gordon, like that diminishes the book for me because those are such solid side characters who are important to the mythos of Batman.
Right.
And man, Carmine draws a badass looking Commissioner Gordon. It's solid, dude. Like that mustache, like you got to have... It takes something to draw a good Commissioner Gordon mustache, and I really appreciate it. So, yeah, fun book. I'm back on now. After a short stint, I may go back and pick up the back issues of what I missed because apparently I missed some stuff. And it was fun to check back in, and great book. Great book.
Awesome.
So that's all I got. Let's bounce forward and talk about some books that are coming out next week that I'm really looking forward to, and I think you probably are too. And then we'll wrap this up, and I'll try not to completely fuck up this time and lose the shit that we need.
I mean, we'd appreciate it if you didn't.
I'm firing myself.
Well, next week is pretty fitting since Halloween has fallen on New Comic Book Day. The book I'm looking forward to is actually the Avengers Halloween special. The advertisement for it is saying that we're going to get stories from X-Men and Doctor Doom in this. And because I no longer have it in front of my face because we recorded this once, I don't remember the man's name, and I apologize. But if you're familiar with the comic book The Goon,
Eric Powell.
Eric Powell,
same guy that did Hillbillies. Have you read Hillbillies?
What's Hillbillies? But he is making his Marvel Comics writing debut, so that's pretty cool. And like I said, I'm all down for an Avengers Halloween special on Halloween Day.
It's going to be fun. I want to throw out there Deathstroke and Yogi Bear special #1 is coming out next week. It's going to be written by Frank Thierry, and I think there's a backup story by J.M. DeMatteis, who's always good. The art's done by Mark Texiera, who I'm a big fan of. He does some of my favorite Ghost Rider work from back in the day, or at least was a part of that team that did it. Looking forward to this book. And then this book is not a book that came out last week, but it's a book that's already been out, but you can go find it. The DC Halloween 100-page special that Walmart is putting out it's got some Swamp Thing in it. It's fun. You can go find it at your local Walmart, hopefully, if they're not sold out. I love those Walmart 100-page giants. $5, 100 pages. You can't miss out. It's fun stuff. So unfortunately, I don't have written down what Wendi said, and I don't have written down what Jerry said, and I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Wendi had to actually go before we got to get ahead of ourselves. Jerry's was Edge of Spider-Geddon.
Yeah. He's loving the Edge of books.
To no surprise.
So that kind of wraps up our show for this week. Greatly apologize for our technical mishaps. Trust me, I'm more angry than you are. Dear listener, Sean's probably more angry than you are too, but he's probably madder at me than anybody. Or my computer.
I'm not mad at all. Now
just be mad.
We get our 2-man podcast. I got to spend time with just Caleb.
Look me in the eyeballs.
Oh,
the windows to my soul.
It's dark and scary in there.
So that's what we've got for this week. I would like to invite you all to again come see us at Comic Conway next weekend, November 2nd through the 4th. We're going to be there. Come see us on the social medias. You can get on our Facebook page. You can get on our Instagram, our Twitter. We're at SFG Podcast. Email us at southernfriedgeekery@gmail.com if you have questions, comments, or concerns. Go check out Wendi Freeman's podcast, man. Do yourself a favor. She operates one of the best interview podcasts. Everything from comics professionals to film professionals to wrestling professionals to horror people. She's putting out an episode here coming up pretty soon that's going to have yours truly on there, where we talk about some Southern Gothic horror. It's a great show, and she has Skype figured out, not like us. So her shows don't actually fuck up right in the middle because she's quality and we're not.
She's the best of us.
She really is. She's incredible. So that's all we've got for the show this week. Go forth and love some comics and
insert Jerry.
Woo! There you go. Bye, guys.